But this character, this me, is someone that I really love being. And that's really strange. Finding out how to be happy almost 3 decades into your life is really strange.
All right, what's your name and where are you from?
Hi, I am Rozbot. I am from Chicago, Illinois. I am a circus laboratory Rozbot. I dance, I juggle, and I'm also a scientist. Currently getting my PhD in computational biology. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's an interesting mix of professions.
Definitely. Kind of a duality, living a dual life, but I kind of love it.
So you grew up in Chicago? You lived here your whole life?
Yeah, right outside of Chicago, on the south side, around Tinley Park, Oak Park, is where I grew up. And then I went to high school on the south side at an all-boys Catholic high school.
Oh, wow.
To play football. And there was I played football there. It was essentially a job to play football there. Which eventually led me to go to the University of Chicago to play football there. And that's actually getting way ahead of a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, I guess I could start with, how I started dancing and all of that jazz.
I love that.
So I was a fat little white kid, and one of my first CDs was this purple CD that had this man with stunner shades, just with his arms crossed, looking up, and it's that 100% funk on it. And I would dance to that CD every day after school.
About how old were you at this time?
8 to 10.
So you've been dancing a long time.
A very long time. To the chagrin of my parents. My mom was kind of supportive. My dad wasn't at all. And they would fight about it. And that made me really try to, reel it in, kind of. Didn't really do that. So then I saw a movie called Major Pain, where Damon Wayans does the robot in it. And so I was like this little kid, and I'm like, oh, I want to do the robot. So I got really good at doing the robot, really good at doing the robot. So good that it kind of rocketed the rest of my story forward. Also, what happened is on my 13th birthday, I got this, it was 13? Yes. I got this group of CDs called The Book of Cool. And what it did was that these DVDs actually, they were a collection of different skills that it would just teach you, like juggling or bar flaring and breakdancing. And so I was getting, and they had professional breakdancers give lessons in this little DVD. So I actually had something to show me how to do it correctly. And so I got much better at doing the robot. And through all this time, I'm playing football. Again, this is a job. I was I played the offensive line. I was really big. At my biggest playing weight, I was about 300 pounds. So I was a big person. And then I decided I didn't want to be big anymore. I remember I got to this top of the stairs, and I was always pretty athletic. and I was just out of breath, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So lost a lot of weight, probably not very healthily either. It's like when you lose a lot of weight like that, you get sort of eating disorder stuff, which happens to everybody, essentially. So dealt with that for a very long time. But football in general, I despise it. Really don't like it. Really hate football. I was good at it, and that's why I played it. And that's why it gave me some opportunities that I probably would have not had otherwise. But I really dislike football. It really destroys people. I got out with thousands of concussions, hurt shoulder, hurt hips, and I got off relatively easy, I think what's really sinister about football is that no one leaves without being hurt in some way.
CTE and blown out back.
Yeah. If I was doing everything correctly, I'd snap my helmet underneath another person's helmet, and everything would go black, and then the vision would come all back in. And that's when I was doing good. And the coach would say, "Oh, that was good. You did good." So I just kept doing that. And then later realized oh yeah, no, those were concussions you were doing to yourself every single time. And so that's kind of scary, is looking back for about 14 years of my life, I was just giving myself concussions all the time. And again, I got off easy. And the thing is people who have their bodies destroyed by this sport, they're its biggest advocates. And it's really sad, right?
It is kind of strange.
Yeah, it's incredibly strange.
During this time, were you keeping kind of your dancing and all that separate from your football life?
Oh, definitely. Again, I very much live dual lives, right? I kept dancing all this time. When I went to college, I went to undergrad at the University of Chicago, and I helped start a hip hop dance crew there. And this is where, and by this time I had lost a lot of weight. I was about about 180 pounds, my current weight now. And I just decided football wasn't it wasn't my priority. Also in college, they treat you as an asset, which is a whole lot better than what high school football does, which is they treat you super disposably, which isn't great. But yes, the hip hop dance crew started, it was called Phoenix, with a bunch of my friends. And eventually I went on to be on the board and to be the administrative director for a couple years. And we would throw an enormous show at the end of the year, and we'd invite different dance crews from around Chicago and other colleges like Northwestern to come perform. And one of the crews was a professional crew called Chicago Culture Shock. And Chicago Culture Shock came in and they saw me dance. And the director, named Chris Courtney, came up to me and asked if I would want to do some of their shows, some of their professional shows. And so in 2010, I got asked to go do some performances at Millennium Park with Culture Shock. And so I did. And I would say the first professional gig that I ever did. And so I've been professionally performing for 15 years now. And I was hooked. I loved it. Loved doing it. And eventually I graduated from the University of Chicago. And when you're in the hip hop dance scene, there are battles. You go to battles and you battle. And I didn't love that so much. Battling, competitive things, I understand that it can be good for some people. It wasn't for me. I was a little more theatrical. So I started reaching out to people I knew if they had any performance opportunities. And my friend Tommy Von Flowington he does liquid dance. He hit me up and said, hey, me and some of my crewmates are performing at a music festival in the middle of Wisconsin called Infrasound. Would you like to come? And so I was like, heck yeah, I would love to do this. So we drive up to Infrasound in 2013. It's at a nudist camp. Yeah.
Did you know that going in?
I didn't know that going in, but it was, I'm fine with it. It was fine. And
surprise.
It was a surprise. We dress up as mimes and we're killing it. We're doing so awesome. We're with some fire performers at that time. And it starts thunderstorming and they start delaying all of the music at this music festival. And the only place to go to that's dry is that across the street from this campsite, from this nudist camp, is a strip club. And so we all go into the strip club full mind out. And the dancers there were like really cool about it, but we were just trying to weather the storm. So this is the first experience I had with like a theatrical sort of performance. And I was hooked. I loved it. So I started pushing myself to perform more, go to more places. And through all this time, I'm trying to figure out, do I want to, go to medical school? What do I want to do with these degrees that I have? So I decided I had gotten a bachelor's in psychology and pre-medical at the University of Chicago. And I had decided that, oh no, in order to go to medical school, you kind of have to have this sort of a little bit of a God complex. You have to be able to say, what I am doing is good for these people. And I don't think I could ever do that. And like figuring that out was like really good for me. So I decided, oh no, what I want to do is research. It's like, I love asking questions. Why not do that? So I went and got my master's at the Illinois Institute of Technology on the south side of Chicago. And all during this time, I'm also reaching out to different companies. They're reaching out to me to start performing more in different places, mostly as specifically a dancer. So, and at this time I was still presenting like as a boy, very much so. Very strange though. It's just mostly in locker outfits, looking very clowny still. And I found that I really loved to dress up and go-go dance. And it's really hard to not do go-go dancing in a cis gay way as a male-bodied person. I wanted to do it like the cis girls were doing it at these festivals. And it took a long time for me to prove that I was really good at dancing and I deserved to be on that stage. And I kept having to prove myself. I remember I was performing on this cruise and one of the girls was matched with me because you go two at a time. And she kind of threw a fit before we went out on stage together because I was the only AMAB person there. And we went on stage and I killed it because of course I do. And after we got back off stage, she said, I don't want to dance with anybody else but Rozbot, right? So my journey through becoming a go-go dancer is filled with just stories almost exactly like that, of just needing to prove that I am the best person on that stage every single time. Till eventually I'm being asked by different companies like Zantra to perform alone on stages, like on their main stages at events they do. It took a lot. It took a lot. And then all through this time, I figure out, oh, I'm not actually, very happy with myself, very happy with my body, and start exploring that, oh, it's not only just the body thing, it's the gender thing. And so I kind of came out to one of my partners who is non-binary in 2019, that I didn't think I was a boy anymore. And so they were incredibly supportive, and it was just very tough. And then, of course, the pandemic happened, and I kind of lived my life as a non-binary person for about 2 years until I figured out that no, I'm a clown girl. That's what it is. And started medically transitioning in 2022. And since then, have had 3 surgeries. And currently, it's going to be my 3-year anniversary on HRT next month, actually.
That's awesome.
Which is
3
really
years.
Cool. Yeah, it's really awesome. I've changed so much since then. And the change came with a lot of crappy things as well. Well, at the end of the day, I love it here. I love myself now, love my body, love how I use it. But the rough part is that these stages, these opportunities that I had to work so hard to get to, were now taken away from me again. Because I remember these stages that these stages that I was go-go dancing on alone, they started asking me to wear more masculine makeup, and this was like after I started transitioning, wear more masculine clothes, and I just didn't really feel super comfortable with that. And then they stopped booking me altogether.
Right.
I was just frustrating, because now I have to prove myself all over again in the other direction. But what's happened since then is that not only am I here to dance and to go dance and to do the robot very well, but I started picking up juggling. And January 2020 is when I started juggling. And I had this idea of like, oh, I want to be able to juggle and dance at the same time. Really, really good. So I juggle clubs. And I had seen some good juggling and dancing with some balls, but I really wanted the clubs because I'd never seen that. And that's been a journey. Juggling is hard. Juggling is really difficult.
It seems really hard. And on top of that, you have like, you're dancing and juggling at the same time. Yeah. So I can't even imagine.
It's pretty difficult. It's difficult to do, and it's difficult to make it look good. I want it to have flavor. I want it to look really tasty. And that's taken some going, but I think I'm doing it pretty good. I think I'm getting it there. In 2023, I opened the International Jugglers Association sort of festival with a juggle dance act, and I did it dropless, which I was like, yes.
After only 3 years of doing it too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I am kind of a little crazy on the crazy side. I wake up every morning pretty early just so that I can train for about 2 to 3 hours every single morning because I love a routine.
Dedication.
Yeah. And then I go into the lab and I do my research. And I guess I'm juggling a lot of balls. Like I'm juggling a lot of clubs at all times. And that's something I love doing. I don't think I would be as good at anything if I weren't doing all the things all at once. I just lose interest in it.
Kind of the chaos brings variety and
yeah, which I really dig. I think what I'll talk about a little bit next is like how clowning came into things. Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
Yeah. So when you dance while doing the robot, you're doing a character. The robot is a character. You're emulating a robot. So robots don't actually look a lot like the robots they started doing the robot to. They're a lot different now. But there's an idea of this character of the robot that people connect to, they relate to. And so when you do the robot, you're trying to elicit those feelings of that this thing isn't quite real, but it's kind of trying to be, right?
Yeah. I dig it.
So there's like a little bit of character to everything. And there's actually a dance style specifically for characters called animation. And it's all about trying to do something that was, this was actually inspired by old claymation, which would do characters. And so animation styles have a lot of character to them. But there's always been character in the way that I move, in the way that I dance. So it was pretty easy to kind of translate that to doing other characters, to doing the miming at that music festival. And then eventually the biggest clowning things I've done is I started performing at Electric Forest as one of the forest characters, where you're just interacting with people all day. And that's just all clowning. It's character acting, but all character acting is clowning. It's, you are creating an experience. You are a character creating an experience with people. And that's really awesome. I love doing that. It's a lot of storytelling. You are engaging these people in a story with you, and that's a lot of fun. And I was really good at it. It's all about like relating to people and seeing how they can relate to my character and seeing if they can, you know, have a good time with you. Hi, Cha-Cha. So it's all character. It's all having a character. It's all telling a story as the character. And so clowning was kind of an afterthought of like, oh, no, I am a clown. And this kind of dovetailed very nicely into my transition is that not only am I a clown, but I'm a clown girl. Like that's what I am. And that's what I love to be. And it has never brought me so much joy as to identify as something as a clown girl. I remember all the characters I had been, all the dances I had done. Previously to me thinking of myself as this and never being quite satisfied, never being quite okay with myself. It was always, well, I'll find another character. I only have to be this character for a little bit. But this character, this me, is someone that I really love being. And that's really strange. Finding out how to be happy almost 3 decades into your life is really strange. But you know, better late than never.
Definitely.
Yeah, so clowning, it's so good. It's so fun. Just telling stories with people, having people tell stories with you, you telling stories with them, relating those stories back to each other. I love doing it.
I think there's something especially profound about being a little silly sometimes.
Oh gosh, love being silly. The only thing I'm serious about is being silly. So I think that there's a huge, huge benefit to being so silly, being the silliest one, so that other people don't feel like they're going to be ridiculed for it. yeah, I can be the silly one. I can be the cringy one, you know, and then you can do whatever you want. I like taking that on because it frees everybody else up to be themselves by being the most me. I really love that. Sorry. Yeah, I think that it works really nicely with all the art that I make. Clowning just does. I've always asked the question a couple times, maybe once, or I just have thought about it of like, you know, everybody wants to be excellent at their art. That's why they practice, right? Everybody wants to be excellent at it. But what do you want to say? What do you want to say with your art? What do you want it to say? What do you want it to make people feel? And that one's really easy for me. It's like, I want to make fun happen. I want to make fun happen, however I need to do it. Even if I don't have fun, I want to make it happen. I want to make you have fun. I want to make you have fun watching me. I want to make you have fun being inspired by me. I might even make myself have fun, but I want to make fun happen. And if fun happens, if I make fun happen, then I win. I've won. And that's a lot of clowning. It's like, for me, especially, is I want to make some fun happen. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of difficulties in trans. Like, there's a lot of hurt. I think that it's worth it to make some fun happen. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I do. And it's kind of culminated into this enormous thing where I have gotten a few followers on the internet. Like, you know, you get about like 150K on TikTok or about 70K on Instagram. And it's like, no one really knows you, but sometimes someone might see you on the street and say, hey, you're that, you know, clown girl. And so I like to say that I have shittest tier e-celebrity, you know, something to be ashamed of, just a little bit. But what it's done is, one, it's opened me up to the awful vileness of everybody on the internet. Geez, people are just the worst. Just really, really awful. But then a lot of people are really, really nice, you know? I just have the brain thing where I only look at the negative stuff, which is like a human thing, I'm pretty sure. But what it's done is it's opened up opportunities for me, where I was gonna go visit New York to see a friend with my partner. My partner does Sideshow, and they were doing things to try and see if they can't, you know, connect with people on Coney Island. And I just reached out to a clown I met once in New York. And I'm like, hey, are there any shows here? And her name is Humanette. And she makes clown porn. And she's like, oh yeah, no, there's a show. It's called Clowncore. And I just talked to the person who runs it. And she loves you. You want to come out and perform there? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. So I go to this performance at this really cool, it was a DIY venue, like kind of like this. And it's just all clowns. Everybody comes full clowned out. Instead of, you know, throwing tips, you give your tips to a clown, and they give you confetti, and everybody throws confetti instead. And it was so great. It was so fun. It was so silly. It was such a good time. And they loved me and I loved them. And it was so queer and amazing. I loved it. And it was all just clowning. It was all just silly. It was so good. I loved it so much that I'm going to go back there in August and do it again. And then actually today and yesterday, I saw that Clown Cult specifically has gotten a Vice article about them, about like making clowns sexy again. And like, it's like, yeah, we're making clowning sexy again because being silly is sexy. That's so fun.
I love that. I love that. Because a lot of people have the, you know, they have Pennywise in their head, or they have
definitely.
like, you know,
which are characters. They're characters too. And they're listening, they're telling a story in some way. But like, they're not the only ones. Like, there's me, your laboratory circus Rozbot, right? Like, I'm here. I'm making fun happen. Pennywise can make, eat kids or whatever they do, Like, good job, girl. Keep eating those kids.
Have you picked up any like the traditional clowning, like blowing up balloon animals or anything like that?
So it's funny. It's like people ask me if I went to clown college or anything like that. It's like, no, not even a little bit, not at all. I understand that there is a long history of clowning, and I have gotten some of that through some people, through different sources, read a few articles about the history of clowning, about the problematic history of clowning. Everything has problematic histories, about like a lot of like clowning being in minstrelsy and which parts of it intersect with that, because it's like, that's a part of it, right? It's like, don't wear big shoes because it's like almost like directly from minstrelsy and sort of stuff like that, using different characters. So you have to know the history in order to not, touch on things that shouldn't really be touched on, right? So I think it's important to know a little bit of that, but I don't think it's necessary to know every single little thing about clown history, because I know that like traditional clowns, like cirque clowns, trad clowns, they would be called. They have these certain acts that all of them do. And they all have their own spin on it, but they only have these certain acts that all of them do, right? And that's cool. And there are some incredible clown acts. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just, I love the street clowning. I love like clowning from the street, like doing it with the people in the mud, I love that. I love that part of it. Reminds me a lot more of like the street dance culture. It's like, it can be done on a stage, but you don't do it on a stage. You do it in the cypher. You're like on the dance floor doing it. And this is kind of how I treat clowning. It's like, I can do it very well on stage, and I do. I am booked pretty regularly at cabarets, downtown Chicago, almost once a week, generally, probably more. But it's also, I do it on the dance floor. I do it in my room. It's always there. It's always there for me to do. And that's why I do it, is because I love it. Yeah.
So how did you experiment with different looks and different makeups, or did this kind of come naturally?
Yeah. So this is my clown face. I do a spiral on the nose. That's really big. A little bit of a smile. I also don't wear all white because I'm a mover. I'm a big mover. I move a lot. And I'm a big girl. Big girl, and I move a lot. And my body sweats a lot, like a lot. I sweat profusely. So much so that my autobiography is going to be called Various Stages of Dampness, a Rozbot story, where every single chapter is like a different kind of wet, like tsunamied or spritzed or dripping, right? But I sweat. And so I don't do full white because that'll run real easy. And so I do a little bit whiter of a foundation. And so a lot of my makeup had been trial and error to see what's going to melt off my face, right? After I've been dancing for about 10 minutes, right? So this is stuck. This does pretty well, even if I do start tsunamiing pretty far into the night. So yeah, that's how I got this clown face.
I think it looks cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Same thing with my clothes. They all have to be able to survive a lot of sweat. And when you're a performer of any sort, and do it professionally, you kind of have to wear a lot of hats. You have to market yourself. You have to be able to do some production things. You have to be able to costume yourself. So all of this is like, I made this, I made that, I bedazzled this, ripped these up in order to do it, right? Like, you kind of have to make your own costumes, all of it.
I love the DIY kind of influence on the clowning community. That's really cool.
It has to, like, you have to. Not all of us are in Cirque and like get like, you know, $3,000 costumes, you know, that are sewn by professional seamstresses. Yeah, I have to do it myself. And it was a lot of trial and error. You know, I started making costumes for myself in 2014. And those were bad costumes. And it has to be bad, right? For it to become good, right? Costumes go through a lot of iterations, and then you have to fix them, and then they break, and then you have to fix them again. And then your body changes a little bit. Maybe you transition, you know? maybe you get some tits. Like, maybe that look makes most of your costumes look better. Yeah. So, yeah, just a lot of things that have to go into it. So when did you start like making your TikToks and your Instagrams, and how did that look like? So I wanted to, of course, you know, you try and practice, right? You push the boundaries of like how you want to do things. And one of the big things that, you know, people whom I trust said is like, you have to start videotaping yourself if you want to get better at things. The video doesn't lie, unfortunately. You're going to see it. It's going to catch all your mistakes. So I started videotaping myself every single day. And this was around the middle of, again, around when I started like, oh, I'm doing this professionally now, and now I need to get really serious about getting better. Because I had filmed myself before, but now I started filming myself every single day. And I'm like, awesome, this is really good. I just throw it up online, you know? And so I started doing that. I got a job as a lab tech at the University of Chicago for one of the labs. And essentially I was the only person there, cleaning all the things, fixing all the things. Like, I was the only lab tech, and I was just like in charge of the lab. And I was there for some days, like before, you know, with nothing to do, for a couple hours. And so I'd videotape myself doing little robot dances in the lab. And people love that on TikTok. And that's how I skyrocketed on TikTok with that. I was doing robot dances in the lab in my little lab coat. People love that. And then I started doing Instagram reels of like my journey through juggle dancing, you know? I take a look at some videos I did like 3 years ago. I'm like, wow, I've gotten so much better. Like, you know, it's so good to see like your progress. And generally I think it's a good exercise for me to videotape myself and put it out there, because otherwise what'll start to happen is that I don't really have a direction with what I'm training. If I'm like, okay, I need to make a video, it needs to be polished. It has to have, like, I pick a different song every single day, and I'm like, okay, we're going to freestyle to this, make a tiny little choreography, sort of a choreography, like choreography, and we're going to throw it out there. Have to do face, have to serve face, have to like be crisp in everything I do. So it forces me to not just be it forces me to be deterministic in what I am performing. And that's what brings sharpness to all of my performances. And I think that is very worth something to be doing that, because otherwise it probably wouldn't be worth it to do any sort of social media. Social media is not good for you. It's like there's studies showing that it's not very good for you, that it doesn't do great things for your brain. But it has afforded me opportunities. And I think that in order for me to still consider using it, I have to have an idea of like, this is what I'm using this for. It is a tool for me to get better at my art. And if people see that and they think it's cool, that's cool. It's also afforded me opportunities like going to Clowncore. So yeah, I think that that is the only way that you can kind of, you know, give yourself an okay to stay on social media. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, on top of being a clown girl, I am also a researcher and PhD candidate. I'm getting my PhD in computational biology. I go to the University of Illinois at Chicago. So what's funny is that I went to UChicago, then IIT, then UIC, and eventually you start going from, you know, Hyde Park, which is on the south side, then the near south side, which is IIT, and now I'm smack dab in the middle of the city at UIC, so I just moved up. But I've joined a lab called the Drew Lab, and they do high throughput proteomics. And specifically what I study is I do high throughput proteomics on fungal pathogens, specifically Candida auris. And what a lot of people are like, oh, that's a lot of words, you know, what is that? So I'm going to try and break it down a little easier for you. Candida auris is a fungal pathogen. It is part of the Candida species. So Candida albicans is what you get when you have yeast infections. Candida auris is much more dangerous. It has been labeled by the CDC and the WHO as critically urgent because it is multi-drug resistant and it is heat resistant. And it popped up all over the world all at once. They actually don't know the origin of it in about 2019, and it spreads super fast, and they find it mostly in hospitals. So I know this is scary, but you're fine, most of you. Your immune system usually can take care of it. So what happens is that people within hospitals, a lot of them don't have very good immune systems. And so they get it, and it grows inside their blood, and then, you know, they die. So there's been a large push by the scientific community to study these fungal pathogens. And so what I am doing specifically is I'm taking a look at the proteome and the interactome. And what is that? So proteins are the little tiny guys inside of you that do everything. They do everything. You have your DNA, which transcribes in the RNA, which translates into proteins. And all these proteins do all the things inside of you. They transport things, they make energy, they convert energy, they do more replication. But these proteins don't often get translated and then do the thing right away. They have to get into complex, so essentially they have to kiss the other proteins that they are working with. And you can learn a lot about what a protein does by what the proteins, what other proteins does this protein hang out with? Who do they kiss? Guilt by association. So you take a look at the interactome about which proteins interact with which proteins. And that tells you a ton about what this protein does. And if you know what all the proteins do, you can elicit from that the type of phenotypes that this cell is giving this organism. So if you have a fungal pathogen that is not as heat resistant, like Candida albicans, the yeast infection fungal pathogen, and then this really dangerous one that is like very heat resistant, right? And that they're pretty close relatives. And we take a look at all the proteins in this one and who they kiss, and all the proteins in this one and who they kiss. We can elicit what makes this one less dangerous than this one. And that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm taking a look at the differences between the protein protein interactions in one fungal pathogen versus another fungal pathogen. And eventually what that'll show us is what makes some of them more dangerous than others.
That's so much out of my intellectual wheelhouse, but it sounds incredibly interesting. But you're saying this is not the Last of Us situation.
No. Everybody says The Last of Us when I talk about that. I study fungal pathogen, and you know what? Cool. Like as long as people are interested in the thing that I'm talking about, right? A lot of cool fungal things are happening, and essentially we don't know a lot about the fungal kingdom in general. We know a lot about baker's yeast. We know a ton about baker's yeast, but we don't know a lot about any of the other fungi, and there's a lot of fungi out there. So it's kind of wild, right? How little we know about everything. But that's also kind of cool. It's like we can keep asking questions. If there's anything that's going to kill me, it's how curious I am. It's like for sure, I just have to know. I have to know. Even if I know it's going to hurt me, I have to know it's going to kill me. And so I guess that makes me a pretty good scientist, just that I have to know.
You have to know.
I have to know.
I forgot what I was going to say.
That's all good.
Oh, have you been scientific like your whole life? Kind of had more of a pull towards this curiosity leaning into science, or was that something you found in college?
So I'd always, as a child, I was rewarded a lot for doing well in school. And so I'm like, oh, I have to do amazing at school. So I'd study as much as possible as I need to in order to get straight A's. Even though I played football at UChicago, you don't get into UChicago without, scoring well on all the things. And so I just figured out how to do that. And then I did it. And that makes me, good at giving, the school system what it wants, right? And that's sort of what you're pushed to do when you're a kid, right? Is figure out what the teacher wants and give it to them, right? And you figure that out really fast. It's like, if I do this, I'll be rewarded. People will say I did a good job, good girl, like, yay. So I got really good at that. And sometimes the teacher would want me to learn things, and then I'd learn things and give them what they want. But a lot of the times that's not what they want. And so people who did what I do are rewarded a lot in the school system. And that doesn't mean always the people who get taught things or that get the highest scores are, doing what really should be done, which is learning the thing. And I remember going to get my master's in biology and having to relearn how to learn. It's like, no, I actually want to learn this stuff. I just don't want to, give the teacher what they want in order to get the good grade. I want to actually learn this stuff. And I had to relearn how to learn. And it was really difficult. Kind of reminds me of when you learn to do the robot, you learn how to pop first. And you actually, sorry, I hit the mic. You actually have to move ahead of the beat, stop at the beat, and then pop in order to dance. So you're actually learning how to dance incorrectly. You're learning how to dance ahead of the beat when you dance out of the pop. So when I had to learn every other dance, I had to relearn how to dance. So especially when I learned how to house, I had to relearn how to dance. And then that, of course, made everything, really easy. Generally, is relearning, how to do everything when I know how to learn better. Yeah. Works out for me so much better because now I know how I learn specifically, and what parts I should keep and what parts I should discard from what I had learned before.
Do you think eventually you'll go by Dr. Rozbot?
Oh, yeah. So I am a third year, almost the fourth year into my PhD program. I am a PhD candidate, so I've passed my preliminary exams. Essentially, they can't kick me out anymore. I'm doing my research. I proposed my research to a committee, and they accepted. They're like, okay, once you finish this, we'll give you your PhD. And so I am on that journey right now to do all the things that I said that I would do. To fulfill all the promises that I said I'd make.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So eventually, Dr. Rozbot, you could call me.
I like it. Dr. Rozbot.
Eventual.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. I like it. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great interview.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If people want to find your stuff, where do they find it?
So on Instagram, it is Rozbot. That is R0ZB0T, because someone takes Rozbot every single thing. Someone takes it. I don't know who it is. Whenever I look at their profile, it's just blank.
Oh.
But R0ZB0T. That's where you can find me.
Awesome.